A contractor's journey to self-mastery requires discipline, integrity, and respect. Welcome to Hammer and Grind.
Welcome to Hammer and Grind, the podcast built for contractors. Real contractors, true stories, real solutions. My name is Brad Hebner, and I will be your guide on your journey to self-mastery of your construction business. You can connect with us on our social media at Hammer and Grind Podcast. You can also check out our free Facebook group called the Contractor Profit Group, where we have free trainings and conversations to help you with your business. Or if you want to level up, you can join our paid coaching group called the Profit Club. You can find out more information about that at hammerandgrind.com/the Profit Club. On today's show, we have some very special guests, Justin and Kristin Bender of Bender Homes. Bringing new life to outdated spaces is something that Justin and Kristin love to do through their business. For the past 6 years, they have renovated clients' kitchens, bathrooms, and basements. They have the privilege of working with some of the most amazing clients ever and pride themselves on giving excellent customer service along with being excellent problem solvers. They are constantly learning and growing on this journey of running a family-owned business and wouldn't have it any other way. Guys, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yes. So I don't know if you heard my podcast I did. I interviewed my wife, and I wanted to kind of give a perspective of a wife that's not involved in the business. She's very hands-off. And so now we're interviewing you guys because you both work in the business. And so I want to get some perspective here for those contractors that, maybe they're wanting to start a business and they don't know if their spouse is going to be involved or not, or maybe they have their spouse and there's problems. Who knows? I just want to get some different perspectives. So I appreciate you guys being on here.
Yeah.
So Justin, I'm going to start with you. In one word, what's it like working with Kristin?
Can I do two?
I'll let it.
And the reason why I wanted to say two, because the first one I would say is complicated, but the second word I would say is incredible.
Okay. That's a save there. You had to save that.
Yeah.
For later.
Yeah. Well, it definitely is a mixed bag, but she saved the day when she first started taking on work with Bender Homes. It was a miracle. She saved me and saved the company and is now just doing amazing things.
Awesome. Kristin, same question. One word.
The first word that came to my mind was challenging.
All right. Well, at least that's honest. I mean, that's probably some real talk there.
We like challenges.
Yeah. We're up for it.
Awesome. So you guys, you said 6 years you've been in the business, and Kristin, I know just from previous conversations that you weren't involved from the very beginning. At what point did you kind of start becoming involved in the business?
It's been probably 1.5 years, 2 years ago. But at the beginning, it was we just kind of eased into it. So a lot of it was just like Justin would ask me to help out with a couple of things just to get a little bit off of his plate. But it was maybe just like a handful of hours a week. It wasn't anything big.
Yeah. The story goes, I initially was working with another guy full time. I was kind of the main worker, and then he would just kind of help me, but I paid him hourly to work with me full time. And then after about 2 years, he bailed, and it just left me in the lurch for as far as getting my jobs done on time, and then I would get home 5:00 from working all day at this point, we didn't even use subs. So I was doing all the drywall, electrical, plumbing, tile, every single trade you could think of. And then I would come home and I would change clothes at 5:00 and then try to go out, put on a happy face and meet a new client. And after doing that for a while, I just came home and I was like, Kristin, I can't go out tonight. I'm so tired. I'm done. Could you please just go out? Just meet these people. Here's all you have to do. Just meet them, say hi, put up a good face, and then just measure the space and then take pictures. and then just see what they kind of want. And that's it. And then just bring it home to me. And then I will write up an estimate and I'll talk them through it and I'll go from there. And then it slowly evolved into like every time she'd say, and then she came home that night when she went to the first one. She's like, I loved it. And I'm like, what, you did? Who likes estimates? I don't want to go do that. And she's like, it was great. I love the people. I was like, okay, this could really work. And then she would come home with the photos and all this. And I was like, well, why don't you write up the estimate? And so she'd be like, well, I don't even know what to do. I'm like, just take the old one that I did and try to make it better, or just try to copy it. And so she would try to do that. And, inevitably I'd be like, that's not a good number. Don't put that number in there. And we would laugh, and then we'd fight, and then we'd, get to the right spot. But then slowly she just started taking on more and more and more. And now she is like running all the sales, all the marketing, all the customer service. She's basically the general contractor, where she is meeting all the subs, scheduling all the subs, writing up all the estimates. I am the problem solver, kind of the quality control guy. And then when I need to jump in and help when a sub messes up, or we can't get somebody out there, or it's fine carpentry and things like that, then that's what I do. So that was a little bit of the evolution of where we got.
Well, you got way into all the questions.
Whoa.
So the podcast is over. Thanks for joining. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that was awesome, Brad. Thanks, man.
I'm just kidding, guys. When you said something there, Justin, early on, you said all you got to do is go out and measure and meet with them. And all I'm thinking when you said that is, what could possibly go wrong?
Everything. Oh, we had so many fights, because she would take a picture in a space and I'd be like, wait, where's this picture? What angle? Like, where's the other spot? She's like, oh, I forgot to take that picture. And then I'm like, wait, the measurements, like what is this measurement? Where is the one from this wall? Bad. And she go, oh, I forgot to measure that one. Should I go back? Or should I call them? Like, we had so many, again, challenging.
Yeah, challenging.
And difficult were like the words that were popping out early on. We're getting better systems, but yeah, that was tough.
Well, I mean, I can only imagine someone like Kristin who hasn't been in the trade. She's not a contractor. She has never done this. And then all of a sudden she's supposed to be gaining, pretty pertinent information, right? Like sizes are important, things like that. So
yeah.
So she kind of came in to help you. And from what you said, Justin, it was kind of like what we help a lot of contractors with. They get on that crazy cycle of just working like 10, 15, 20, 15-hour days, working nights and weekends, trying to do estimates. And it's just too much.
Yep.
It's really just too much work for one person to do. And I know you guys do excellent work. So you were probably getting plenty of leads, referrals and stuff. And so you're, busy doing that stuff full time. So Kristin came in, you said it was about 2 years ago. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So about 2 years ago, Kristin, you came in and started helping out. What was that like for you? Not so much like going out and measuring what we just talked about, but just in general, like becoming part of the business and being involved in the, some of the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, that's a great question. I honestly really enjoyed it. I don't think we'd be where we are today if I didn't. I think I would have just helped for a little bit, and we would have either found a different solution, or we would have had to have been done, because he was just so overwhelmed. But as I continued to step into more roles or just kind of evolving roles, I just kind of kept taking on a little bit more responsibility and realized hey, I actually really like running a business.
Okay. Awesome. So you kind of, once you got your feet wet and dove into this whole contracting world, you actually enjoyed it. And I know from our conversations that you also enjoy like the design aspect of it now and that creativity part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love, I think one of my favorite parts about just being in this world is I get to, kind of like you said in our intro, I get to meet some of the most amazing people and help them just totally make their space something that they love and that they want to be in. And it's really cool to be a part of that transformation.
So this is kind of out of my line of questioning, but I just thought of it when you were talking. Since you are the one that's kind of the point man, if you will, the first person they talk to, who's kind of in charge of the jobs? Like, I mean, is it Kristin? Is it Justin? Like, who's in charge of what?
Kristin is definitely in charge of the jobs, but I would say I'm kind of shadowing behind her with the construction knowledge of like, hey, honey, we need to do like electrical next. Do you have like, is that scheduled? Because sometimes she'll be like, oh, I got the plumber ready. And I'm like, no, we can't do the plumber yet. We can't do it. And she'll go, oh, okay, cool. And then she'll cancel that and then move somebody up, or, oh, hey, this got special ordered, so we need to wait. So we should actually be doing this next. It's just like you said, she has zero knowledge or had zero knowledge of the skills and the trades. And so I get to kind of be the guy behind the scenes telling her, like, she'll just tell me what's going on this week. And then sometimes I'm like, that sounds great. That's awesome. That's perfect. And then sometimes I'm like, hey, no, that's not going to work. Or I'll get into the space on the first day and I'll be like, hey, you know that plan that we had at the very beginning and you told me about it? I'm like, there's a bulkhead here and we're going to have to do it different. Or, hey, we're going to have, have you thought about this? So we kind of work as a team on that, I would say, but she's definitely running the day to day. She's calling all the plumbers and electricians and meeting with the clients. And then I'd probably say maybe once to twice a week, she'll come to me and be like, hey, I have this question. What would you do here? What do you think about? Is that how you would feel?
Yeah. There's just certain things that come up in projects, because sometimes like Justin, I may have Justin on a larger project and then I'm just overseeing a project with subs without him. And sometimes something will happen that somebody may want a outlet moved or a switch changed. And I don't know what all is involved in doing something like that. And I can quickly ask him and get an answer for it. So it's definitely a team effort.
But I will say I didn't lie when I was telling her story. And I said, from the first time I sent her out to meet clients, she came back and said, I loved that. And I was like, thank God that you loved that, because I'm gonna die. And so like, it was just, I hear from so many contractors and I tell them like our story and they're like, I wish my wife could do that. And I'm like, I just got lucky because she likes business. She likes kind of organizational stuff. And she loves sales. So like, it just kind of happened that way. And slowly but surely, she just gained more and more knowledge. And she just said so many times, like, she loves her job. And I'm like, I hit the jackpot. That's amazing.
Yeah, you guys definitely have a very good dynamic in what your skills are and what you like and don't like. And Justin, it sounds like you obviously, like most contractors, prefer to do the trades part. I mean, work with your hands, and you're happy to give up the marketing and sales and all that, and the paying the bills and all the fun stuff that come along with the business.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't sell for anything. I mean, I know I probably could if I like really worked on it and trade, but as far as liking it, I don't like it. It's always made me a little uneasy. And from day one, Kristin has loved sales. Even before this job, she's had numerous sales jobs, and she's always liked commission-based sales and being kind of in this pressure cooker position. And so like, it was just this perfect mix of like, okay, you work on that, I'll work on this. And so we got lucky.
Yeah. I mean, you guys sound like you have the perfect dynamic, really. I know there's always things you got to work through and little nuanced things to figure out, but was it did it take you long to kind of fall into your roles, or was it, like almost after that first one, you kind of both knew instantly, or like, how did that process go?
I think it evolved over about a year or so. So it took us about a year to transition from me just purely helping and not even thinking of it as I'm just helping. Like, it wasn't a job. It wasn't a role that I had. It was just like, hey, Justin's tired, so I'm just going to go help him in this. To slowly over that year, a good year, I would say, maybe even longer than that, where I just slowly took on more and more things. And I think I had to gain the confidence to know, like, this is something, because this is a world that I know nothing about. And so part of it was just I had to know, like, hey, this is I can do well at this, and I can help this, and I actually enjoy it.
And I would say part of it too, though, was when we first started transitioning over to you helping, our youngest still was not in school.
Mhm.
So she was still, completely a stay-at-home mom with the kids. And so any sort of work, she was just, overloaded with the kids all the time. So like when I had her helping, it really was like, oh, she's just going out to just really quick do this thing. And then when our youngest got into preschool and now he does it 5 days a week, she was like, hey, I have a lot of time now during the week. I can really take on a lot more and I love it. And I'm like, by all means, take on as much as you can. Is that
No.
true? Would you
Yeah,
say that's right?
absolutely.
Well, that's awesome that it worked out like that. For you guys, I bet you guys have never had any fights about business whatsoever.
Never.
No. We can end the podcast right there. Oh, we fight almost every day about something.
Yes.
And
probably every day would be a better.
yeah.
but we
Okay,
work
so
through it.
that's my next question is like, how do you guys fight fair? Like, obviously there's disagreements or, things come up. So how do you guys fight fair in your relationship?
I think a big one is just owning the responsibility. So obviously we both mess up and we're both going to make mistakes. And I think being honest and open when you know you messed up is a really good start to having some humility to be able to figure out the situation. And I think we both do a good job at that.
Yeah.
Justin, any follow up on that? Or?
I would say, I think as far as like our fights go, I think we learned a long time. We've been married for 16 years and we learned a long time ago that one of the best ways to fight is to not assume someone's intention against them. So for example, if she messes up, saying stuff like, hey, I know you didn't mean to do this thing, but this happened and now we got to fix it. And then it kind of doing that, saying, I know you didn't mean to, giving the benefit of the doubt right off the bat, and then getting into the conflict, it typically will kind of take the sting out of it, or it will keep you from putting your walls up. So using language, just any relationship therapist or counselor, that sort of thing, they like to use these sorts of languages to just like, hey, this is, I know you didn't mean to, but this is, what happened. And then going into it. Sometimes I will fly off the handle because this thing got messed up and then now it's going to push us off 3 weeks or something, right? A cabinet was mismeasured or something. And
which just happened.
Oh no. Was that your fault, Kristin?
We actually don't know, Polly. It's still out there. We don't know. But so I think it's now learning for me, like just understanding, because I used to control every aspect of the job. And so I could kind of micromanage it. Now stepping back, I can't. And so when mistakes happen, it's really hard for me because I'm like, if I was micromanaging it, this probably wouldn't have happened, which is laughable because I mess up all the time, but nobody knows because I just fix it. So now if somebody else makes a mistake, I have to fix it. And I'm like, no, I fix my own mistakes, not other people's, but I'm learning it's okay. This is now your job. It's okay. And so that's where the rub has kind of been for me in our fighting is like, I have to clean up other people's mistakes. I just like to clean up my own. And so it's kind of me just like swallowing that and being like, you know what? This is the job and this is why we make money. Like, cause I get to solve problems and fix problems and my job has changed and that's okay. And there's going to be mistakes and there's going to be delays. And honestly, just even saying that out loud in the moment, saying it's going to be okay, even when I don't feel okay, being like, it's going to be okay, Justin. It's going to be okay. I have to say it out loud, say it to her. And then I have to ask her to remind me. I have to say like, tell me it's going to be okay. Tell me this is fine. The client's fine. She's like, everybody's fine. It's okay. And I'm like, okay. All right. And then I get to calm down. So there's like a few different ways I think that we go about that. Is that how you feel as well?
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, you guys have obviously worked together and are great at communicating. I mean, you both are very good at communicating. And you had some very, very key points in there. You talked about, not assuming that they were, being intentional and making the mistake or malicious, if you will. Like most of us are human, right? And we make mistakes. And how many times, I mean, even with my own wife, like something will happen and you'll get so frustrated. And it's like, okay, think about this. Did she really intend to make me mad? Like, was that her intention, was to make me mad? No, of course not. So having that perspective, I think, is huge for you guys. How do you handle, let me back up. Are there times where you really just don't like working together? Like just go to your office, Kristin, and do the estimates and don't come out here again. I mean, does that ever happen?
Yes, that definitely has happened.
Yeah. I feel like it doesn't happen as much.
Not as much. We're getting we're slowly learning our roles and becoming much better, but it definitely happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I definitely, I don't think it happens as much as it used to. It's a learning curve. Like I feel like I never gave Kristin enough credit for how fast she's learned these things. Because I've known it for so long, and then she came in and she would make a measuring mistake or something. I'd be like, what, that's silly. Why would you do something like that? And it's like, whoa, buddy, you've been doing this for years. She has no idea. And so slowly just like realizing her perspective and where she's coming from. And then also how she saved me. Like she saved the company. The Bender Homes probably would not exist if she was not around. And then it calms me down. And I'm like, man, I'm just so thankful that you're here. I better relax a little bit here, because like this is not fair. She gets a time to learn, just like I had a lot of time to learn. And so just kind of calm. I don't feel like it happens nearly as much as it used to. First of all, because she's way better at her job. And then second of all, because I've just learned to be more thankful for how she has handled our company and all that she does. I mean, she does 8 different jobs for Bender Homes, and I only do a couple. And so I have to know, like, she is holding her own weight, and I'm along for the ride and super thankful for that. Do you agree with that it doesn't happen nearly like it used to?
Yes, I do.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that you guys have figured that out. My wife, we've had plenty of, dinner time chats, and it's like me, I can't, so-and-so, one of my employees, so-and-so did this thing today. It was so stupid. Can you believe he did that? And my wife would say something like, well, but did you tell them? And I'm like, it's common sense, dear. Like, it's common sense. Everybody knows this. And she's like, but did you tell them?
There it is.
And I'm like, well, no, I didn't tell them. It's common sense. And then, of course, inevitably, I would realize it was my fault because I didn't tell them. Like you were saying, Justin, it's, we've been in this trade for a long time. And so it's common sense when you measure something, you do it a specific way, or you include this or this and that. And so, I think it's great that you guys have been able to figure that out. And you've obviously extended a bunch of grace to her during that process. I would not have as much grace as you do. With my own wife.
I think you would if you were on the brink of like, I'm having a mental breakdown, and she comes in and like fixes it, helps it, like takes it to another level. Like she's taken Bender Homes, way beyond anything I thought we could ever be. And so I'm like, I can handle some mistakes. Like she nailed it. I mean, I can't even, it's incredible. I'm so thankful for that. So yeah, I think if you were in the same position, you probably would be like, okay, it's all right.
Well, that's a testament to, even like hiring employees. When you hire someone who is insanely qualified, who, wants to help the business, they're going to take it farther than what you could ever imagine. And obviously what you've explained, Kristin has done, on that side of the business. So I think that's awesome. How do you guys, or maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but does work carry over into your personal? Like, how do you stop the line of, okay, work's over, now it's time for family? Kristin, you want to answer that first?
Yeah. Well, I think having kids helps, because like when they're home from school and when we're both done with work for the day, like our focus kind of switches to hanging out with them or doing something, whether it's an activity that we're taking them to or we're doing something with them. And so I feel like it gives us kind of a natural break in the day. I don't know. What do you think?
I think we are terrible at this. And here is why. Here's exactly why. I can just name it and point to it immediately. We have a terrible system for tracking jobs and for the whole CRM situation. We do not use it. We do not implement it. So guess what? All of our information for what needs to happen next is on Post-it notes around the house. And they're buried in emails somewhere. And so all of a sudden I'll be like, hey, we're supposed to be like installing sconces and lighting. And I'm like, Kristin, did you order that yet? And she'll go, oh no, I forgot about that. So that'll hit me at like 6:30 p.m. or it's 8 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden I'll jump up and I'll run out and be like, hey, did you do that? And she'll be like, oh, I think it's being delivered tomorrow. I don't really know. So we're actually in the process of getting a new employee coming up here in February that will hopefully be getting us organized on our CRM. I don't even know what that means completely. This is not my world. As you can tell, Kristin had to save me. Anyway, so we have a new employee coming in who is going to get our CRM fully set up and then get it running. She's actually going to be here for a while, like working with us day in and day out to try to see what tasks need to be on checklists and then need updates and all sorts of stuff. And then just get us running. And then she's going to operate it from her house. And then we're going to have regular phone calls and do this whole thing. So my hope is that as we get more organized, because we are very much a mom and pop shop right now, where we can handle a lot, but we want to be able to handle way more than we do. We just hit a month where we had about 6 jobs going at one time. And I think 3 times in a month and a half, Kristin said, I'm losing my mind. And it was all directly related to systems and tasks. And she had it all in her head. And so it would all come out at random times in the day. It would come out on date nights. It would come out, when the kids are around, it would come out all over. I think she's definitely right that when the kids are around, we play. We're a playing family. We like to go on trips. We like to do sports and all sorts of stuff, but we're not good at it. And so the goal is that our organizing software will help us get to the point where we can turn that off at the end of the day and then fully know that in the morning when we wake up, those pop-ups and those notifications will go, oh, do this. And then we'll go, oh, great. I don't have to ever think about that. How do you feel about that? Do you agree with what I just said, or how?
Yes.
What would you?
Yeah. Well, that's like our biggest downfall right now is neither one of us are like
type A.
Yeah, neither one of us are type A. Like we want our projects to look great. We do like excellent work.
I agree with that.
But I think in like the back end, we're both more like we go with the flow, which can be an amazing trait. But we're bringing someone on that's going to help kind of keep us in line a little bit.
We're a little bit too flexible.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that you recognize that you have a weakness here, and you're bringing in someone to help with that. I mean, trying to scale without being organized it will make you go insane for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. The money was great, but the amount of stress that came with something that I shouldn't have had that level of stress for the amount of jobs that we were doing. So.
Yeah, I mean, developing those systems are critical to help alleviating that stress. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are implementing this, and I'll be excited to hear how that's going over the next few months.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get on Kristin, make sure that it's moving forward, because I know that conversation has happened in the past.
Maybe once or twice.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So this is for both of you. I mean, for contractors who are married and or maybe they're just got married, maybe they're just starting their business. It doesn't really matter where they're at. But for those who are married and they're thinking about bringing their spouse into the business, I mean, what's the one thing you would tell them that they should know beforehand?
That it's going to be very challenging, but it can be done and it can be amazing.
Yeah, I think Kristin, I think, maybe thought it was going to be a lot easier in the beginning. I was unsure because I don't like managing people or trying to tell people like, hey, do this, don't do this. I'd rather just do the work myself. So that's a big learning thing for me in the last year and moving into this year. But I would say understanding your gifts and your weaknesses is probably one of the best things that you can do as a couple. And then knowing how to differentiate between those like tasks that need to get done. So for instance, I would say neither one of us are like great at like the finances and all this stuff, but one is way better than the other. And that is Kristin. So Kristin actually does all of our books and all of our financials and the receipts and all of that different stuff. Like she can handle that. She doesn't like it, but it's not like I want to die right now. Like if I had to do that before Kristin came on, I didn't do books. I had Excel spreadsheets with just like what I bought for a job, and that was it. We didn't have QuickBooks back then. So like now everything's changed, and just understanding like I am the chief problem solver. Like 100%. Like, so when she's having some kind of issue, or she's having problems with the sub because they won't do this, or they're saying there's a problem because they can't do this or whatever, she always comes to me, says, hey, talk me through this. What should we do? And I'd probably say 9 times out of 10, we come up with a better solution than what we were even thinking before. So understanding like that's my role. And my role is a very hands-on approach in the field most of the time. So, going to the job, I do all of our finished carpentry, or most of it at least. And then Kristin like just understands sales. She knows sales. She likes sales. So like I don't have to do that. That's not something that's on my plate. So understanding like where my role stops and her role starts, I think is the way that we kind of try to keep sane in this, and what I think each couple should know before they jump in. Because if they have the same giftings, I could see there being a lot of fights over you're doing it wrong, or this is how I would do it, or like I can't tell her how I would do the books. I can't because I never did them. I don't know. So like that's on her. She's going to figure that out. Right. So like we don't have to have a fight over that. There are things that we do still have to, because we're both kind of holding on to them, or they intersect. But understanding like, hey, if your spouse is going to come aboard, talk about where each one of you can bring your gifting to the table and take the business to the next level. Because I think understanding that both of you, the expectations are going to be a lot more aligned.
So it sounds like really taking inventory of your skills, and then probably I would even add to that, like, and you can tell me if I'm on the right track, but it's like setting boundaries as far as like who's going to handle what. And, if two people, if the husband and wife or the partners are not, neither one of them are very good at, say, marketing, like, then what's the plan for that? Are we going to outsource that to someone else? How are we going to handle that type of thing? Would you agree with that? Or
yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Awesome.
We're actually in the middle of that right now. We're looking to hire like a marketing person that's going to start taking over a lot of that stuff. Because while Kristin's been doing it and doing a really good job, we know that if we want to move up, scale up, we're going to need more estimates, more bids to come in, more potential clients. So that's one area that we know we're like, hey, neither one of us are great at this one. So let's kind of outsource this for sure.
Awesome. So totally off the subject here. What books are you guys reading right now?
I just started a book and I really like it. It's called Maybe It's You is the title. And so it's just all about just being radically honest with yourself, with where you're at, and taking responsibility. And I'm excited to work through it and go on that journey this year.
Kind of sounds like almost like extreme ownership by Jocko Willink, kind of just like taking complete ownership of it. I'll have to look that up. Justin, what about you? What are you reading right now?
I read something called audiobooks.
Me too, man.
You do? Okay.
I'm still reading. I still consider that reading. So.
Yes. Okay. Well, but this is a little different because so I'm like by myself probably 95% of a day, and I have my noise canceling headphones on. So all I'm doing is listening to audiobooks and podcasts. And my audiobooks are almost exclusively fiction books where I can just get kind of lost in the world and I'm not having to think a lot. But my podcasts are like a mixture of like a Jordan Peterson. I listen to him all the time. I listen to a lot of sports stuff. I mean, I'm just like all over the map. However, I would say Kristin and I talk about leadership principles almost every day, I would say, through like a podcast I'm listening to where I'm like, hey, I heard this. This was really cool. Jesse Eitzler, I don't know if you know who that is, but he has some unbelievable stuff that we find really profound about our family life and business life. And it kind of goes all over the map. Yeah, so I'm not a big reader. I like to listen and work at the same time. It's part of my ADD-ness. And I think I need to slow down a little bit. But.
Awesome. Any final thoughts, Justin?
Final thoughts. I would say specifically on working together, it's very, very messy. Overall, it has been the biggest blessing, not only just to me personally, but I think to our marriage. Like we're learning how to communicate better and even our marriage because we have to do it every day and we have to have fights all the time. Kristin is a very conflict averse person, does not like conflict at all, will shut down sometimes when conflict is brought up. But through pretty much ever since she joined the company, she has like ramped it up and she will just go at it now. And it is awesome because I don't mind a little conflict at all. I want to just get it out. And so it has been a huge blessing to our marriage to even have the company because we're working on ourselves. And I think that's like the biggest point in not only in your own company, but even in your marriage, in your relationships, friendships, in your parenting. It's like, if you could stop focusing on the other person as the problem and see yourself as the problem, I think then you can truly have a good, right? That's like the basis for a good relationship, a good marriage, being a good parent is like not focusing on where the other person is messing up or how the other person could, if they would just do this, if they would just be better at this, if they would only do this, then I could be happy. I think that's the biggest downfall in every company, in every relationship, every marriage is always thinking the other person's the problem. But in taking responsibility in your company and being like, you know what, I think I could do better in this. Not only skills wise, getting my skills better, learning from people online. I'm just constantly just absorbing information from like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok about how guys do their jobs. And it's amazing. And so I'm trying to work on me that way. In the business side, I'm trying to see how like, oh, I didn't tell Kristin this part. Like I messed up that. And so I think as we've both done that, taking responsibility and being like, no, I need to work on me. I think that's the way that you're going to succeed in anything.
Kristin, final thoughts?
I think if you're listening to this and you are considering working with your spouse, I just want to say that it can be an amazing adventure, but I think it takes a lot of work and you just have to be willing to own like, this is what I'm good at and this is what I can do. And these are things that I can't do that we either need help with or we need to find someone else for. Because I think we've done that through our journey with the company. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why we can still keep going because we've both kind of figured out what we're good at and what makes us tick and what we get excited about doing every day. And the more that we can find ourselves in those roles, the happier that we're going to be doing our jobs. And honestly, the better that it's just going to go for both of us.
Well, that's awesome, guys. I appreciate you both being on the show so much. If people want to reach out to you, if they have any questions, how can they find you?
They can find us on social media with Bender Homes or check out our website.
Yeah, that's benderhomesllc.com.
Awesome. Well, guys, you heard it. Justin and Kristin Bender with Bender Homes. I appreciate you guys being on the show. I think this is very valuable for a lot of contractors and their spouses and trying to understand the messiness of working together. So that's going to be it for today. You can, again, check us out on our social media, Hammer and Grind Podcast. You can find more information about the Profit Club at hammerandgrind.com/the Profit Club. And until next time, guys, be your best you.